You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows like the one you're about to enjoy, visit electronicmediacollective.com. And now, our featured presentation.
To Awesome Sunday Show. Connor here.
And Pat as well.
Pat, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Happy New Year to you and all of our listeners.
Yeah, Happy New Year, guys. We would like to know how your New Year was in the comments below before the show starts, but Pat, how fun was our New Year's?
Ours was great.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun, and everybody who was there seemed to have a lot of fun. That's all I heard the next day.
It was.
They texted me, oh, that was a lot of fun.
It was a great time.
I was there because it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a great time.
Definitely.
Yeah, all our friends were there. Awesome Sunday Show regulars were there too. Pretty much all TGC.
Good, it was a good collection of people.
Yeah, it was. It was a great collection of people.
You know, only one asshole, but he's a kind of lovable asshole.
Yeah.
And he wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary for himself. Although thank you for leaving 3 dip bottles and 2 dip pouches in Becca's sink, Kevin.
Yeah,
really appreciate that.
And thank you for stealing someone else's beer, leaving it at my house to make me look bad, and also leaving a dip bottle in my basement.
Bad friend, man.
What a terrible friend.
See, Evan, it's things like that that make you not allowed on the podcast. But enough about Evan.
Enough about Evan. Besides that, it was an amazing time.
It was a great time.
Yeah. It was like, it's just, you know what, like sometimes like you don't need to like have something extravagant to have an amazing time. Sometimes you just need all your friends.
Right.
Exactly. And that's what Awesome Sunday Show is about. Good night, everybody. Just kidding. We have a show to do. So even though we had a great time, 2016 didn't end on a very happy note when it comes to Star Wars fans. And even though Rogue One did just come out.
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Didn't end on a good note is a very light way of putting it.
Yeah, that's true. Unfortunately.
Which I'm sure that everybody knows by now, especially if you are a fan of the podcast. I'm assuming that 99% of you, maybe a little less, whatever, are great fans of Star Wars. Or, you know, you would know her from other roles as well. But Carrie Fisher, who played Princess Leia, General Leia Organa, passed away on December 27th. After she was on a transatlantic flight, had a massive heart attack, and then was in the ICU for 4 days. But you know, it still came out of nowhere because, like, up until right before she died, the last 2 days of reports were saying that she was stable and she was doing okay, and like it seemed like it'd be okay. And then unfortunately, she passed away, which was really sad. You know, she's an icon, more than just, you know, as Leia. She was in some big roles. You know, she was in When Harry Met Sally. She was in The Burbs. She was in the Blues Brothers, and that was like, she had a lot of roles over the years. I think she was in like over 60 or something. But she was also really well known as an author, very, very successful author. And she was a huge, one of the most sought after script doctors for years and years. And for those who don't know what a script doctor is, it's basically somebody that a movie studio hires to fix a screenplay.
Right.
Kind of like an editor, plus a little booster to it.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect analogy. Kind of like an editor, but like the editor before the editing process or before even the filming process. Yeah, I mean, I feel like most people may not know like how successful she really was, even though she wasn't in as many movies as other big movie stars are. She was, you know, because of she dealt with the mental illness she dealt with, but also too, like you said, she was a very successful author and script doctor as well. So she was doing work, and it's not like you wouldn't see her in movies either.
Right.
You know,
she just wasn't in, you know, 5 movies a year or whatever. She was very spacious in her appearances, but she did make a lot of appearances and a lot of cameos, and a lot of them were really memorable. Like, one of my favorite cameos she ever did was she was in an episode of 30 Rock, as Rosemary Howard, and she was like one of the network's like classic like best writers. She played Tina Fey's character's idol in it, and she was like just this whacked out woman, but it was absolutely hysterical. And then like in most things she was in, she was fantastic. But, you know, she was more than just an actress, like for a script doctor, but she was also a really huge, you know, very outspoken and a huge proponent of speaking about mental illness, because she suffered from bipolar disorder, which is what I suffer from, and which is, you know, I wouldn't say very common, but it is a major mental illness.
Right.
And so she brought a lot of attention to it. And, you know, this was what led to her drug use when she was young, and which did cause, you know, a whole mess of problems, but she was eventually able to sober up and work on her bipolar disorder. And, but it brought a lot of attention for this, you know, this huge name to be so open about her mental illness.
Right.
It was a huge, very big deal. Big deal because, you know, in Hollywood, you don't really...
Yeah, I mean...
Well, not just in Hollywood, but in general, like, people don't like to talk about it, especially when she started talking about it. But, you know, for somebody like a huge star to reveal something about themselves, it's like... It opens a lot of discussion and makes more people comfortable to talk about something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So she had a huge influence outside of just, you know, her major roles. Like, she had an influence in different areas and in multiple ways over, you know, so many people's lives.
Right.
And you know,
that's where I feel like that's where she was the most successful, though. Like,
Yeah.
as much as I love her performance and her character in Star Wars, which is, you know, how I know that actress best, even though none of us personally know her. Most people don't
Right.
personally know her, but
that's what when you think
Yeah.
of Carrie Fisher, that's the first thing you think about.
it's Star Wars. Like, that's just what I associate her with the most. And, like, you know, I think the point we're both trying to get to, and especially like the way you put it was amazing. It was just perfect. You know, she made it easier for people that may have suffered. She may have, it wasn't awkward anymore. Especially, like, she kind of broke the barriers, because, like you said, like in Hollywood in the past, people didn't really talk about anything in their personal lives. People weren't, you know, people didn't even do that. If like, even if an actor or actress was gay, like, the public would never know about it.
Right.
You know,
Even back then, like, or even still today, really, it's not, you know, it's not something that people just, whoever it is, just openly comes out with.
Yeah. So, like, I feel like this kind of just broke another boundary, and, like, I think that's where she's the most successful, where she was the most successful. And yeah, it's you know, she did a lot of good, especially with, like, you know, the trouble she faced in her life. You know, like, looking back at it, just from, like, a historic point of view.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I mean, Leia was groundbreaking because she showed that, you know, she was a female hero that showed that she could fight just as good and, if not better, than the boys. Like, she came through in huge moments and, like, even outshone Luke and Han in several instances, and became such an important figure without being, like, a damsel in distress or anything. Sure, she was captured, but she was fighting her way out of it.
But so was Han Solo. Han Solo was captured too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
But so it was.
Luke Skywalker let himself get captured.
Yeah, it was a huge change of pace. You know, and then Sigourney Weaver as Ellen Ripley also added to that. But
now we have Rey.
I think Star Wars, Leia had a bigger impact overall because it was a much wider reach, I think. Nothing against you know, Sigourney Weaver as Ripley, because she did amazing. Like, that was a huge character and of a big franchise. But I think Leia reached more young girls and was a more widespread known name that provided a ton of inspiration.
Yeah,
just in terms of, like, her movie characters,
right?
You know,
and, like, I mean, a girl can. I feel like, you know, I can't speak for all girls, but I feel like I can see, like, a girl looking up to Princess Leia as, I guess, as a role model, fully, just because you're right. She's not just a damsel in distress. Like, she doesn't always need saving. And even when she is getting saved, she's helping out, like, significantly.
right?
You know?
Yeah, and then
She does more than Han Solo does.
Yeah,
Han Solo barely or almost kills friggin' Billy D. Williams, Lando Calrissian.
Yeah. But when you look at like reading through, whether on Twitter or Facebook, this outpouring of like, remembrances and tweets and posts about her, if you look through a lot of, posts created by girls or women or anything, they talk about how inspirational Leia was, but how Carrie Fisher was as a whole, which is great. I'm glad, I'm sure a person doesn't want to be remembered just for one movie role, like whether or not she wanted that, who knows. But, I think she was more satisfied with her social impact,
right?
More so than movie wise, maybe.
Which I mean, and we live in a very real world, so I think that is something to be more proud of. As much as I can talk about Star Wars. We, Dalia, Phil, Cass, pretty much like 60% of our friend group, like we can all talk about Star Wars for days. Like we can sit probably from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. from that time period, talk about Star Wars and have it be a legit conversation, not get boring. Maybe take like an hour break.
Right.
But it's still not real at the end of the day.
Right. So
it's a fictional world, and
space opera.
But and we love it. We eat it up. It's our favorite thing. But what she did socially and like the boundaries she broke, you like I said, you put it perfectly in the beginning. That is way more important, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think she had a just as big, if not a bigger, positive impact outside of the movie characters, like in her writing and the way she spoke and how the things she talked about and the things she was so open about. I think that arguably, in my opinion, made a bigger and better impact than just how one character was portrayed. And I also think that the reason Leia was so successful is because she did some script doctoring for the Star Wars sequels, which really added to her character a lot. But even that, like, she was outspoken about a lot of stuff, and she had no problem. I recommend looking this video up if you haven't seen it yet. But when George Lucas, I forget what award he was being presented with, but it was like maybe 16 years ago or like late 90s, she roasted him like before, like, because all these different people that worked with him like gave up and gave speeches about him, how you normally do when you graduate, but she roasted the shit out of him, and I really recommend it. I just YouTube Carrie Fisher roasting George Lucas.
So wait, you said this is in the 90s?
I don't know when exactly it was.
Oh man, like I would love to have.
It's a little dated. It's at least the late 90s.
I would love to hear what she has to say about like the prequel trilogies if she makes jokes about them. But if it's the late 90s, it's.
To be honest, I don't remember exactly when it was. I know it was over 10 years ago.
Okay.
I can say that much. Yeah, but I think she was not afraid to speak her mind. She was not afraid to expose herself, expose others, and I think that was like. She was a really strong person in a lot of ways.
She's a very honest person.
Very brutally honest.
Yeah.
Like, just didn't hold back, but not in a bad way.
That's a I'm not like huge on like meeting celebrities, but I'm big on meeting storytellers and like I'd much rather meet like a J.J. Abrams over Brad Pitt. Even though I think Brad Pitt's a fine actor and he's, I'm sure he's, a nice guy, or whatever. I don't know. But, I'm like, I'd rather talk to the creator. I'd rather talk to the person behind the scenes. I'd rather talk to a writer. I'd much rather
want to talk to somebody more interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather talk to James Gunn or meet James Gunn than, no offense, but, to a lot of the actors in like Guardians of the Galaxy, because like he's the man behind the scenes. Carrie Fisher is one of those people where I think she's way more interesting than, most of the people behind the scenes in Star Wars. I mean, you can find an interview with George Lucas up the wazoo about everything, and he says he loves his movies, but Star Wars Episode 7 was a disappointment, and I don't really care. Like, I'd much rather meet her. I'd much rather have met her.
Yeah.
Even though it would be fucking sweet to meet George Lucas.
Yeah. You would not turn down.
And I would never say any of that to him. But like, truth be told, but like that's how I feel.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously she was a huge cultural icon for more than one reason. And what makes it even more sad is literally the day after she died, her mother died while planning her funeral from a stroke.
And that to me is like, I hate like the millennial complaining, like fuck 2016, but like no, but seriously, yo, fuck 2016. Like,
I know it's like that. As soon as obviously, you know, I was extremely upset when Carrie Fisher passed away, but then to hear that her mother died the very next day, you know, obviously the idea of dying from a broken heart, there is some sort of condition that like is similar to that. I don't know what it's called or anything, but like it's been concluded that it or whatever, that there's an actual condition for it. But you know, people are saying she died of a broken heart the next day. She did suffer a stroke, which apparently was not her first, but you know, just having, you know, her go the day after her daughter is just you know.
And the granddaughter, Billie Lourd, who's Carrie Fisher's daughter, I can't imagine.
I can't imagine what that girl is feeling like right now. Like that's losing your mother is one thing, but then losing your mother and your grandmother back to back.
Yeah, and they were all like understandably like pretty close. You know.
Yeah. There was a whole documentary about Debbie and Carrie.
I want to see it. I've never seen it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's called Bright Lights, starring Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds, which is coming out actually January 7th. So I definitely recommend checking that out. But yeah, there's been a lot of coverage about them, and like because Debbie Reynolds was a huge film star in her own right.
Yeah, she was big. She's in one of my favorite musicals of all time. I mean, film musical, and I mean, I don't know the origins behind it. I've only ever seen the movie. It's Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, which is you know, a legendary
film
movie in its own self,
right?
Its own right.
I don't know if it was a play beforehand or you know whatever, but like I've only ever seen the movie, and I've seen the movie probably about like 2 or 3 times. It's excellent. It's an excellent movie, and she's fantastic in it.
Yeah, that's what really like launched her into, you know, the stratosphere on that. And
what it's almost poetic in a way, because she was in a film representing you know, transition from silent to sound film in that movie. And you know, in that movie she has to you know, replace someone's voice, and you know, it's kind of cool how you see like the evolution of film in that way. And you know, Carrie Fisher's in Star Wars, which in itself was an evolution of film. It was film was mass marketable at that point.
Yeah,
you know, like that's what Star Wars did. And not that there wasn't huge big budget, you know, or you know box office successes before Star Wars. I mean, we have Gone with the Wind, which still like holds the record for like the most profitable movie of all time or something like that. Or like the highest grossing adjusted to inflation.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And you know, but Star Wars like made that mainstream, you know, and it was such an original idea. So like, you know, you have a mother and a daughter, like, you know, both being in like pivotal points of like the film industry. One representing the history of it, and one actually being a part of the history.
Right.
And I think that's really cool when you really put it in that mindset, you know.
Yeah, they're both huge icons in their own right.
Yeah.
And for those of you who haven't seen Singing in the Rain, she was also, I know, like, if you grew up watching the Disney Channel, I'm sure you've seen the Halloween Town movies. Not that these are, you know, the greatest roles in the world, but she played the grandmother in the Halloween Town series. But she's also been nominated for a whole slew of awards. She even had her own TV show, which she received Golden Globe for. She was nominated for the Tonys. She earned the Academy Award Gene Herschel Humanitarian Award this past year at this past Oscars.
Yeah.
So in her own right, she was just as big, she was an icon as well. Maybe not for our generation or the generation before us, but she was a huge icon in the film industry.
She's
and beyond.
Enough to keep being talked about. And I mean, you know, I don't want to judge it based on that fact, but you know, they were both hugely impactful.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, and she also was you know, Carrie was also very big on mental health causes. She served as the president of the Layans, which is an organization dedicated to helping mental health causes.
Right.
So she was just, you know, as much of a philanthropist and, you know, humanitarian, if you will. And that's something that they both shared. And it really is unfortunate, you know, that they both died, passed away. You know, Carrie Fisher was only 60. Her mother was 84.
Yeah.
Which for Debbie, like 84 is a ripe old age. You know, Carrie still had some life in her.
Yeah, I mean, they were both very successful, but like, it's sad. It's so sad to see one go. You know, and like, you can never make comparisons when it comes to something so shocking like this. It's just, I think the way it happened is just almost cruel in a way.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it's a shame. It's just like the next day. It's hard to, like, you know, it's hard to fathom that.
Yeah,
almost.
it's something that's so crazy that,
yeah,
you know,
it's in, like, not that I wish anything ill upon anybody, but like, you know, Debbie Reynolds being 84, like, you would think she would have passed and first.
Yeah.
But not only was it not, she watched her daughter pass away, then the next day she goes. It's not it's not the way things should really be going.
Right.
At all.
No parent, no matter how old they are or how old their children are, should ever have to bury a child.
Yeah, and then on top of that, like, you don't even get time to heal.
Right.
You don't get time. It's you can't emotionally recover like that. Like, you don't get to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what pisses me off so much. It should be the opposite. And, you know, again, not that I wish anything upon anybody, but
right.
that's just how it should be.
That's
the easiest way to go. It should go. It just sucks that it's that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because both of them had, you know, even though, and Carrie Fisher's had troubles, both of them have done nothing but positive impacts when it comes. Have had nothing but positive impacts. I feel like,
mm-hmm.
you know, on just our culture.
Yeah, and like I said, it doesn't matter how old the parent or the child are. It's just,
yeah,
you know,
it just sucks, man.
It doesn't
yeah.
make it any less heartbreaking whether they're 60, your child is 60, or, you know, 2 years old. But yeah, it was very unfortunate thing. So guys, what are your favorite, you know, Carrie Fisher memories or Debbie Reynolds memories? Like, how are you going to remember them? What is, you know, has Carrie Fisher had a bigger impact on you as a writer, as a, you know, mental health advocate, or as an actor? Let us know. And I'm not going to do any plugs, but I just want to leave you with one thing that she said in Wishful Drinking, one of the books she wrote, which she then turned into a one-woman play that I think actually really captured her personality really well, and which has been highly, you know, talked about since her passing. And it's a quote from her book, and it goes, "Now I think that this would make fantastic for an obituary. So I tell my younger friends that no matter how I want to go, I want to report it that I drowned in moonlight, strangled by my own bra." So she still wanted to. In her death, she still wanted, you know, something that encompasses the rest of her life, like the end of her life. She wanted humor in it. Even though this was 8 years ago, you know, 8 years before her passing, it just shows the type of personality that she had.
Right. And you see that in like photos of The Empire Strikes Back with Chewbacca grabbing her boob. Like, she always had she just had a sense of humor. Like,
yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to conclude it on that.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Carrie, and rest in peace, Debbie. Thank you for all that you've done throughout your life.